Run the
What's poppin' pimps? As usual, it's his Dunas himself, Charius, and welcome to the latest episode of The First Sip, where we get a taste of new and upcoming games that you might be keeping an eye on. I have my Baja Blast today next to me, so go ahead and grab your favorite type of Mountain Dew and let's dive into what we have. Today, we're finally taking a look at Assassin's Creed Shadows. After a series of delays and rumblings in the news about Ubisoft being purchased and going private, we have quite a bit to consider in this title. All the footage you see today was captured on a PC with settings aimed at Ultra at 1080p, with spoilers to the game kept to an absolute minimum. A huge thank you to Ubisoft for their early access session. Other content creators and I were able to get just about 4 hours or so with the game, but as with all the games that I look at, I will be purchasing an extra copy when the retail edition drops so that my money is on the line just like any of my other gaming brethren. It should also be noted that as of the session that I had, the game is still technically a work in progress, but I mean this more in a Ubisoft is knocking out small bugs as they catch them type of progress, instead of a we need to redo all the parkour systems in the game type of progress, if that makes sense. So Shadows is the latest full-fledged Assassin's Creed game, taking a departure from the shorter adventures of Basim in Assassin's Creed Mirage, and more along the lines of Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. All games where the world is your oyster to explore and tackle missions really as you'd see fit. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan as a franchise, and think that there's a bright future of Assassin's Creed games in general, but for some reason, I can't shake the feeling that Shadows is the do-or-die game of the franchise. Honestly though, from my initial impressions, I think the game gets enough things right to earn a purchase, but of course, each gamer has their preferences, so I'll tell you what, I'll give you what stuck out to me, and you gotta make the call for yourself from there.
Are you a friend of Tokube? What has that dolt gotten himself into this time?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me where to find him?
He has likely started gambling again, based on how many people he owes money to. Again.
Now, unless you've been living under a rock, sorry to anybody who does, you already know that there are two main playable characters for the game. But as a series first, they aren't brother or sister, and they're not two versions of the same person. Please welcome to the stage, Yasuke and Naoe. I hope the pronunciation was alright. Naoe represents the stealthier of the two, being agile and a master of parkour as a Japanese shinobi, with a clear preference of quietly taking out enemies before alarms can get rung. On the other hand, Yasuke is our resident problem solver when the alarms do get rang, the big guy in the room most people wouldn't want to pick a fight with, and most definitely not the one to smoothly start parkouring in the middle of a conflict. Frankly, it's not clear what brought these two together, how they ended up being involved with assassins, or why they would choose to work together, especially given that the events of the demo that I played placed them on opposing sides of the conflicts during the gameplay. And that brings us to a great question. What does gameplay look like? Like most games, it breaks down into essentially three categories: missions, side activities, and exploring. Missions will serve as the narrative progression for the story, propelling Naoe and Yasuke through a variety of situations. What's interesting here is that even though the story seems predetermined for the most part, there are a ton of opportunities to make Yasuke and Naoe your version of them, as there's a dialogue tree in which you get to basically flavor the situation that you're faced with a what would you say kind of approach when placed in that specific situation. Now, this isn't revolutionary as an industry concept for gaming, but it is nice to see here in an Assassin's Creed game. Even more than this, you can choose who you'd like to tackle missions with as well. In the finale of the session I played, for example, there were 3 points in the same mission where I could choose to do the next section as either the two characters or stay on the one who I was already. This option was locked once I selected it and dove into the mission from what I could see, but there were so many opportunities to try going out stealthy or going loud that I think players will have a decent opportunity to get mileage out of either character they feel like trying. Putting immersion to the side for a moment, it really is fun as hell to play as Yasuke and start giving people hands when you get frustrated with stealth not going your way a couple of times in a row. His abilities, and abilities do make a return in this entry, are violent and destructive, with an emphasis on being a force of nature in combat. He functions well when he's placed in duels as well when you get to that point in the game. On the other side of the coin, with Naoe, the ability to go fully prone, the use of lighting and dark corners of the environment to conceal yourself in, and a few others, the assassin fantasy is way closer to being fully realized with her in AC Shadows, and I'm personally a fan of this progress. And when you aren't moving the story forward, or even in between story missions, you may stumble upon the chance to do side activities. These activities can be tackled with either character and don't seem to be locked or available exclusively to either one. They can be opportunities to sharpen your skills like archery on horseback, taking challenges up in that sense, or just taking in the scenery and getting a portrait done of an animal that you found in the wild. All in all, they add to the immersion aspect of the game fairly well. Now, to address the obvious elephant in the room, in absolutely no circumstance would I personally witness some animals locking horns and think to myself, ah, yes, this would be a great painting. I must commemorate this. But as I always say, different strokes for different folks. You get it? As in like, Naoe is using brush strokes to... As with any new Assassin's Creed location, exploration is a fundamental portion of experiencing the totality of what the game world has to offer, and Japan definitely has a lot of ambiance to take in. The game starts out in the year 1579, during the final stage of the Sengoku period, which historically speaking, was a time of civil war in Japan. But I mean, that much is obvious almost right when you get into the game itself. In the past, players have had one of two ways of exploring the game map, either going to the top of viewpoints that they find and hitting the synchronize button to open up a chunk of the map for themselves, or by traversing the map yourself on foot or animal to see the map unlock bit by bit. In this entry, the exploration is more like the latter, since viewpoints in this game don't unlock anything extra on the map, but they still serve as fast travel points if you want to save yourself from time getting around the map. From viewpoints also, you can spot other potential areas of interest and flag it down so that you can get there on foot later to discover what kind of shenanigans are unfolding. Similar to Assassin's Creed Mirage as well, if you haven't discovered an area on the map, you will see a miniature drawing to show that there is something there to check out, but nothing detailed so you know ahead of time what it is. A cool new addition to the franchise in this game is the ability to utilize scouts to search for objectives related to missions. This game, like Mirage in a bit, will give you hints as to where you can find the next person or the next objective, and sometimes I feel they aren't as obvious as you'd hope. And that's where these scouts come into play. From the point of the game where the second half of the demo took place at, Naoe could call upon up to 3 scouts to search for the location of the next mission objective, where using more scouts covered a bigger portion of the map to search. So indicating 1 scout would give you a small circle or a small area to look for, and then going up all the way to 3 scouts would make it much more expansive. This will make finding objectives easier, which in turn means that you as the player will likely spend less time running around being lost and potentially getting frustrated. Obviously, for those who want the full immersive experience, I should note you are not forced to use this mechanic at all, so you can turn it off, you can even turn off the UI if you'd like, and you could play it naturally, you masochistic. So combat is still very much a thing in Assassin's Creed, I know you're wondering, and I know some people are going to feel strongly about the kind of combat Ubisoft chooses to go forward with, so let me get the easy stuff out of the way. Yes, you can insta-kill people via the hidden blade. Yes, the game utilizes an RPG-style approach with levels and quantifiable damage. Yes, you can block or parry attacks, but no, you cannot parry everything as there are unblockable attacks. Quick note, there's gotta be a point where we take into consideration the actual enemy types and if they should be able to launch an unblockable attack on you. I mean, think about this. Why is it that a man or woman, maybe half of Yasuke's size, can launch an unblockable thrust attack? Like, Yasuke can't tank that, or he can't even block it? I don't know. Food for thought for future games and entries when the conditional programming catches up to these kinds of things, I suppose. But anyways, combat feels good in the sense that there's a certain flow to it. But even on normal difficulty, you can find yourself getting into trouble if you don't have a handle of what the attack patterns are. It's not exactly Batman Arkham Knight or Spider-Man level of combat flow, but we've come a long way from the days of Assassin's Creed 2 where we would play stand and wait until they attack so then I can parry them. Out of 10, I would give it a 7.5 or 8 out of 10, specifically with regards to combat, depending on how many skill issues you face. So overall, the game is definitely in a better place when it comes to what was shown versus what they have today, but by no means is this the final product. Ubisoft has strongly emphasized that there are still places they would love to see tweaks done, and I think any tweaking that they can do can only be for the better. We as a fan base may hate to admit it, but Ubisoft listened on this one, man. They released footage of the game, collectively the fans went, and then they delayed to tighten things up. Does the game seem like a home run? No. Does it seem like a Cyberpunk or a No Man's Sky level of launch? Also no. I would urge anyone going into this to keep an open mind and ask yourself one question when you're done playing the game and about to go to Twitter to get your hot take out. Did you have fun? There's a million things social media likes to pick at with games and game developers these days, and I just don't care for any of it. If you had fun, then that's it. And if you didn't have fun, then you can pass on what made the game not fun for you so that the next person can decide whether the things that made the game not fun for you would make the game not fun for them. At the end of the day, we're gamers, man. Let's not forget that we play the games to immerse ourselves and have fun. Anything less, and it just really isn't worth the money. So if you made it this far into the video, first of all, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments which main character you think you'll be leaning towards and why, so I can see what the breakdown's looking like. Me personally, I'm leaning towards Naoe heavier, only because I really enjoyed the stealth sections of the games, but again, your mileage may vary, you know? If you enjoyed the video or if you just took something away from it in the future, please go ahead and RKO that like button and subscribe for future games that we'll be doing in the First Sip series. And if you enjoy gaming or just talking shop about the latest games or maybe even the nostalgic games of your childhood, feel free to join the Discord where we do all of that and then some. And we have our own resident expert game reviewer giving his takes about games that he's knocking out of his backlog. Just please, if you do ask him anything, don't ask him about warm cereal. We don't need to encourage that type of behavior anymore in this server. Be blessed, never stressed, packing, never lacking, good, never hood, be about it and never without it. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.
That's life.
That's life.
That's what all the people say.